Hello, my friends. It's Nick, the ASMR nerd, and welcome to another episode of relaxing reviews. Half an episode, really, if I'm being totally honest. This is going to be a two-part review, the first part of a two-part review, because the product I'm looking at today has so much going on that I've had to split it into two pieces to keep this down to a manageable size and length per video. So the product that we're looking at today is a mechanical keyboard. It is the Everest Max keyboard from Mountain. That's the name of the company, and its name is very appropriate. This is a maximalist approach to designing a keyboard. It is designed to give you everything that you could want, and it's quite impressive for a mainstream offering. So let me give you the rundown. This is a full-size keyboard, but it's also a 10 keyless compact keyboard because the numpad is detachable. It's removable. And not only that, but you can actually choose whether you want to attach it to the right side of the board, as is traditional, or the left side of the board, if you want a southpaw type of layout. I've honestly never seen this before on a mainstream targeted mechanical keyboard, and I think it's a fantastic addition and customization option, because I think a lot of people, when they're first getting into mechanical keyboards, they're looking for a full-size keyboard because that's what they're used to. They find the compact style somewhat intimidating. They don't want to be caught without the keys that they're used to and that they need. This gives you the best of both worlds. If you need that numpad, you do a lot of data entry or whatever, you have it there on either side that you choose. If you don't, you find maybe you don't need it, boom, you've got a compact 10 keyless layout and you save some space on your desktop. So this is an excellent feature, but that's just getting started. Mountain really did take the kitchen sink approach with this keyboard. Many enthusiast grade keyboards get rid of the dedicated media keys. They just, in order to save space or for aesthetic reasons or whatever, Mountain says, no. Not only are we including dedicated media keys, but they're on a dock. And this dock is removable. You can have it or not. And when you have it installed, it can be on the top right side of the board or on the top left side of the board. And just wait. No, not extra enough. We have a screen. We have a screen in the volume dial. It's literally a screen in the volume dial, and it can display keyboard configuration stuff or system diagnostics or a whole host of things. So Mountain put a screen in their media dock and their dedicated volume knob. But then they said, wait, no. This isn't enough. What if we made this like a Stream Deck as well? You might be familiar with the Stream Deck from Elgato. It's essentially a macro pad where each button is a little screen of its own, and you can change the icon. Sounds great. Well, that's what Mountain did as well. The numpad has 4 user configurable display keys along the top that you can use exactly as you would a Stream Deck. And now, it's only 4 keys, but still, this is included with the keyboard. These are just a handful of the honestly wild features that Mountain has packed into this crazy maximalist design. And of course, you get all of the stuff that you would expect from a premium keyboard as well. You get hot-swappable sockets, so you can swap out your switches to your heart's content. You get an aluminum chassis You get factory lubed stabilizers, all kinds of stuff. So, as I said, this is a big product. It truly is the Everest Max. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot to talk about. This part 1, is going to be the unboxing and the product inspection, where we will look at all these various components and how they fit together. Part 2, which will follow in a week or two, probably 2 weeks, honestly, will be a look at the functionality. So the backlighting, the software, those display keys, and of course a typing test, because what good's a keyboard if it's not nice to type on as well. And that's where you will hear the pros and the cons and the final verdict at the end of part 2. So for part 1 here, it's going to be a lot of looking at boxes, a lot of tapping, a lot of unboxing and opening and inspecting and that kind of thing. Mountain was, of course, kind enough to send over this Everest Max for us to take a look at here. And if you are interested in picking up one for yourself, I do suggest that you wait for part 2 of the review to hear my final verdict on it, but you can still go check it out. There is a link down below at the top of the video description. The Everest Max retails for $270 US. So all this hardware does not come cheap, but you're getting an awful lot at that price point. So is it worth it? That's what we're going to find out. Let's take a closer look at the Mountain Everest Max. And here we have the Mountain Everest Max in box, and it's substantial, let's say. This is a big box. It's hard to tell from your current angle, but it's very deep and it's quite heavy. So it promises good things to come for sure. On the top here, you've got a matte black finish, and it says "Reach Your Summit," and has the Mountain Keyboards logo here. That's all in glossy black. Very simple, but makes a statement. Let's look at the front edge here. There you can see how tall this box is. On the front edge, you've actually got a fun design where we've got a cutout in the shape of the Mountain Keyboards logo. And I think that allows you to sort of grab the front flap there. These will obviously have to be cut. We'll do that in a moment. But that's it. Nothing else going on there. The ends, I'm going to try and show you. It might be a little tricky, but I think we can do it without... There we go. So we have some information about the keyboard within here. This is the US layout, so the ANSI layout rather than ISO. This comes with Cherry MX Brown switches. You have your choices of Cherry MX switches, but it is, of course, hot-swappable, so you can always change those after the fact if you like. No soldering required. And up here, you can see, hopefully, maybe, I don't know what it's going to focus on. There we go. We have 2 color options, gunmetal gray or midnight black. This is the gunmetal color, so it's going to have a more metallic kind of finish. Unfortunately, no white color is offered just yet anyway. I don't know if they plan to, but it would be a nice thing, because white's a fairly popular aesthetic these days. Here we have, again, I don't know how focused it is. There you go. A little information about Mountain, based out of Germany. And then down below that, this is kind of interesting. Plastic Bank. Mountain is partnered with Plastic Bank. You are supporting the collection of 25,000 kilograms of plastic from the environment per year. Great. Awesome. Never something I thought would be, happening when I get a keyboard, but, and then a row of certifications here. Serial numbers and barcodes and stuff. On the back edge here, we've got all kinds of information. Okay. Actually, it might just be a little bit of information in different languages, but let's see. The box did come a little bit scuffed up, but generally it's in pretty good shape. Mountain RGB gaming keyboard, Everest Max with Modular Numpad, Media Dock, and Cherry MX switches, indeed. Enter Everest Max, the customizable approach to high-end mechanical keyboards. Sporting hot-swappable plate-mounted Cherry MX switches, a display dial, configurable display keys, double-brushed aluminum faceplates, detachable numpad, media dock, per key individual RGB illumination, USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A hub, and so much more. That is an impressive list of specs that you'd be hard-pressed to find elsewhere. Make it your own and reach your summit with utmost flexibility and freedom of choice. And then it just says all that, but in a bunch of different languages. Okay, let's look at the back here. Ooh, this thing is hefty. So again, we've got the matte black going on with a blue panel over here. And then glossy images of what we can expect inside. Easy connectivity. It looks like we've got a USB Type-C removable cable, as well as a USB Type-A hub. I don't know how many ports. Doesn't say. We'll find out. The very unique media dock. This is something that I've never seen before, and I've seen a lot of keyboards. It's a removable media dock. You can have it in the top right corner, the top left corner, or completely removed, but it provides a row of media keys as well as a display, I believe a 240 by 204 IPS color display, which can show keyboard information, or even be configured to show system information, as I understand it. So that's pretty amazing. Another first for me is this detachable numpad. This is something I wish that we saw more often, but this is one of the only mainstream, mass market keyboards that I know that supports a detachable numpad, and it can be attached on either side of the board, right side or left side, or completely removed. Amazing. That's really cool flexibility. And as if that's not enough, we have 4 display keys up here, which allow you to put an icon of your choice on them, like a Stream Deck. You've basically got a little mini Stream Deck up here. I believe they're 72 by 72 pixels, and you can bind those to macros, of course. Pretty incredible. Brushed aluminum face plates times 2. I guess that means the main one and the numpad one. I don't know. Magnetic snap-on feet. We've seen this kind of feature before on boards from Drop, like the control and the shift, but this implementation does appear to be a little different, so we'll have to see how that goes. Hot-swappable plate-mounted switches. I believe this board only supports 3-pin switches, so if you wanted to put your 5 pins on there, you have to do some trimming of those pins, but I'm not sure. We'll find out. It would be nice if they had those cutouts for the 5-pin switches. Of course, we've got perky RGB backlighting and a removable wrist rest, magnetic, I believe. And then their Basecamp software is how you configure this thing. So, all kinds of stuff included inside here, including a keycap and switch removal tool. All right, lots of specifications here. 1000 hertz polling rate, N-key rollover, all these things that you would expect of a premium keyboard. Product weight, wait for it, 1,600 grams. That's very heavy. That's 1.6 kilograms. Wow. I believe it though, just hefting this box. This thing is heavy. This thing is hefty. Okay. So. The outside of the box is nice. It's in the company's colors, the black and the blue. And it certainly feels like a premium product that you would find on a store shelf, a retail product. So let's get inside. We've got a lot to look at here. So we best get on with it. This is actually rubberized, this little piece right here. Or it's plastic, I guess. Okay, let's do this. And this. Yeah, tip this back down. And let's open it up. Oh, got a magnetic closure right there, which is nice. Just have to be careful not to bump the microphones when I open boxes up like that. So we are immediately greeted by the keyboard right here. Nestled in the top here, protected on all sides by cardboard spacers and wrapped in plastic. All right, now let's take a look because we've actually got a bunch of stuff under the lid here. It says that we've got all these sketches and schematics of the keyboard across the inside of the lid. Like engineering sketches or something. And it says here, innovation, aesthetics, customization, performance. The Mountain Design Mission. To reach your summit, you need customized tools that will take you to the top, your way. From the very beginning, our philosophy was to design user-centric products without any compromise. Welcome to the world of Mountain. With innovative design, unrivaled customization, and sleek features, Mountain is a revolution in choice. Experience the freedom of forging your own path. Signed by Tobias Brinkman, founder. Very fancy. So, this is just basic marketing copy, but I have to say it does seem like Mountain lives by their creed, just based in solely upon the features advertised. This really is the kitchen sink approach to keyboard design. Incredible number of features with a wide customizability, but we'll see how it all fares, of course. Okay, so let's just move this back now so we can once again see the keyboard here, which of course we will take out and save for a little bit later. feels solid. Feels like it's got a good weight to it. Not quite as heavy as some of the solid aluminum chassis that I've used in past, because I believe, let me turn this over. It's ABS on the back, ABS plastic. So, faceplate, top plate is aluminum, but below that is plastic. We'll get to that in a second, though. Let's see what other goodies are inside. This looks to be a wrist rest. Might as well take a look at that while we're here. So the wrist rest is very light. It's made of ABS plastic, lightly textured on the bottom. The top is polyurethane leather. It's got a little bit of it's a soft touch feel, but it's slightly sticky. And I do worry that this could collect gunk quite easily. I prefer something maybe a little slipperier and less sort of sticky. It's not sticky, but it's almost rubberized feeling, you know? But it does make delightful sounds. This is actually really nice sounding. I'm sure that's not what the engineers were thinking about when they were designing it, but nonetheless, there it is. I believe it's a magnetic connection, but we'll have to find out. It's got anti-skid rubberized feet on the bottom, and it's padded, so it's not a hard surface. It's padded. Watch. If I can... See that padding kind of squashing down a bit? It's probably got, you know, like a 1/4 inch of padding, 1/2 centimeter or so, something like that. But it feels like it would probably be comfortable under the wrists as long as it's not getting too sticky. Okay. That's one piece. Cardboard frame, which I do appreciate because cardboard is easy to recycle, much easier than styrofoam. But we do have a soft plastic foam underneath, which appears to be, oh, you know what? This is fancy, you guys. I didn't realize this. This whole top section is just for the wrist rest and the keyboard because we've actually got a dual chamber design. Check this out, guys. Watch. Oh, fancy. Fancy as heck. Essentially got a drawer that comes out of the bottom here, and I love the way they've done this. Each piece is in its own little box here with an image on the front and the name. This is very nicely organized, very nicely presented, And because this is such a configurable board, it's conceivable that you won't be using all the pieces of it at once because it's so modular. Maybe you don't want to use the numpad for a time. Maybe you don't want the media dock, whatever. This looks like it's set up so that you can return the components to their respective boxes and store it this way. I love it. I love it. It shows a lot of thought put into the packaging design. Okay, well, because this comes right out of here, we can actually just put the rest of the box to the side for now, clear a little bit of space. So let's put this box aside. And focus on these accessories. So let's start with the box labeled Customize. This looks like it probably contains, if I had to guess, based on the image, some extra switches, keycaps, feet for the bottom, and a switch and keycap puller. Once again, nicely color-coded, and I think, oh, brilliant. These are actually sleeves that come off, so I don't have to mess around with any tabs or anything. Just like so. Just like so. Now, this looks like it was probably supposed to be a little bit more put together, but I think maybe in shipping it got a little bit tossed around here, but it's okay. We have a combination of a keycap and switch puller. This is the good type of keycap puller, which I'm very glad to see, and a very comfortably sized switch puller. I think I've seen one exactly like this included in a different keyboard, and I cannot remember which one now. It's not branded, which is, it doesn't matter at all, but it's a little surprising just given how nicely branded and uniform everything else is. I would almost expect to see a little Mountain Keyboards logo on there, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, it looks like it'll get the job done. Okay. I'm just gonna take this off of here. It's just a little plastic, or paper, cardboard, pardon me, cover that should normally keep everything kind of nicely sorted. Oh, you know what the problem is, you guys? You know what the problem is? It's the magnetic feet. They are grabbing onto each other, and they're not staying in their little cutouts in the foam here. They're quite strongly magnetic, actually. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but they really want to snap together. They're pretty strong little magnets. They appear to be matte on this side, which is presumably the side that goes down, and then shiny magnet on the inside. This is a very simple solution to the problem of propping up your keyboard, and these allow you 4 different levels of customizability of an angle. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one has a little scratch on it. The finish is slightly damaged there, but it's not something most people would notice or care about. They are solid metal. I was trying to not bump them together so you can hear that, but gosh, the force, trying to force these together is actually, wow. Magnets are crazy, guys. I can barely do it. Okay. So we've got those ones. This does seem like a bit of an oversight. Like, they really don't want to stay separate in here, understandably, when they're this strong. But honestly, they'd probably be better off just having one cut out for each set of magnets instead of trying to have them separate like that. There we go, all 8 for each side. And they're in the gunmetal color that the rest of the board is in. So nice finish, nice matching finish there. Interestingly, one thing I notice is they don't seem to have a rubberized foot on the bottom to prevent skidding. I wonder if on the keyboard there might be one set pre-installed that has a rubberized bottom. That's what I'm guessing. We'll find out though when we get to that point. So let's put those aside. We have one extra keycap. Now, I wasn't sure what the keycap situation here was. If you go on Mountain's website, they say they are ABS with optional PBT keycaps. This is clearly just a basic, honestly fairly chintzy looking ABS keycap. It's not double shot. Rather, we have the coated variety. You might be able to tell here. It's a one piece of translucent ABS plastic that has been UV coated with this black finish, and then I think probably laser etched to get the legends on there. Now, this results in very detailed, crisp, sharp looking legends, which is aesthetically pleasing. But two things. I find this kind of matte UV coated finish does tend to get pretty fingerprinty pretty quick, and over time it is susceptible to wear because unlike a double shot piece of plastic or keycap, which is two fused pieces of plastic and will never wear, this has this relatively thin coating on the outside which could become chipped or flaked or simply worn away with time. That will probably take years, but I have had keyboards in the past where that has happened on this style of keycap. The other thing to note is that these are quite thin. You can see there's quite a bit of flex here. And that's pretty disappointing, honestly, to see in a keyboard of this caliber at this price. Such a lovely package, so nicely presented. I really wish that these keycaps were a little more enthusiast oriented and a little nicer feeling. You might think, who cares? Why does the thickness of a keycap even matter? It matters because it affects the typing feel and sound, and thin keycaps are going to feel and sound somewhat cheap and insubstantial. So that's too bad. But we'll take a look at the caps on the rest of the board, of course, to see if they all follow this style. I bet they do. We also have a handful of little sampler switches, Cherry MX RGB switches with the translucent housings, and of course a 3-pin design. This is the blue. We've also got the red, linear. We've got the silver. Ooh, that's got a lot of spraying going on. See the difference? Red, silver. Usually the silvers are speed silvers, but this doesn't feel like it's got a particularly shorter actuation or travel distance. But it is cherry. Interesting. Here's an extra brown. Standard workhorse tactile. And a silent red, sometimes called Cherry MX Pinks. But they bottom out quite quietly compared to the other switches because they're dampened. They're linear, like a red, but with quieter bottom out. Listen. Anyway, So that's just so that you can try out the hot swap functionality of the board. They're just little extras if you want to try swapping switches and you don't have any of your own to put in there. Okay, let's put that aside and let's carry on with the unboxing. If we can. Removing that box reveals underneath the manual, which is kind of interesting. It's got a nice picture of the board on the front there. I feel like this little envelope situation is maybe slightly unnecessary, but there it is. We have a quick start guide and some stickers, because every good keyboard comes with some stickers, right? No Iron Man stickers, mind you, but they look good if you want to put some stickers on some stuff. There they are. Quick start guide. Hotkeys. You can swap between 5 different onboard profiles, saved to onboard memory. Backlight control, brightness, speed, mode. Maybe not speed. Brightness, mode. Okay. Media controls, which really you probably won't need shortcuts for because you have a media dock, but it's there anyway. Reset factory settings with function R. Game mode, which is turning on wind lock, is function key pause. There's help online, of course. This is just hotkeys in different languages. So this is clearly a fully international package. It's localized for a bunch of different markets, and it seems to be pretty well localized in English, at least. One would hope in the other languages as well. Hot swappable switches. This is how you do it. Very simple. I see. Oh, the numpad has a slider on the bottom. That's what exposes the connectors. You can take it to the one side or the other. That's how you attach it to the left or right side of the board. That's very clever. I wasn't sure how that would be accomplished, but that looks very clever. The media dock can go on either side. And if you want to buy some swag, some gear, they'll sell you that on their website. Okay. Nicely presented user guide. Seems to have the basics that are required, so no complaints there. Let's tuck that back into its little envelope. Off it goes. Next up, the media dock. It says on the back here, it's got some info for us. I don't think it had any info on the back of, no, the extras did not. No info there, but here. Unique media dock with display dial. Change your settings on the fly. Has some specifications. Dedicated media controls with a mute, play pause, forward and backward. RGB TFT IPS display. 240 by 204. Just as I said. And it's warranted for 2 years. That's great, because I believe the main keyboard is warranted for 2 years, but it's good to know that the dock is as well. Okay, let's this kind of cover situation, I suppose. Very well protected in there. Got a nice big chunk of foam nicely nestled within. And the dock itself comes in a little plastic baggie. I don't know if you noticed, but all their little baggies also have mountain branding on them. Very polished design here. Very polished packaging, and I love it. Okay. So, I believe this is how it mounts, like this. We've got a little USB Type-C connector on the bottom, which is presumably how it plugs in on one side or the other. The unit itself is black ABS plastic with five media keys, as well as status LEDs for caps lock, num lock, these kinds of things. They're all right there. The buttons have a slightly rounded shape to them, and they feel okay. I might say they feel a little bit on the cheap side, but they'll certainly do the job. And I think once this is attached to the keyboard as well, it might feel a little more solid. Because right now it's just a plastic unit, but once it's attached to that solid aluminum chassis, it might feel a little better. We'll see. And here is the display, but also a dial for volume control by default, but presumably you could rebind that. Because it's a little screen, it has a little cover. You ready for this? Oh yes, so good. Very glossy. Plastic cover, probably prone to scratching, so you want to be careful about that. It's not some kind of Gorilla Glass front to the screen or anything, but anyway, it looks like a very functional little media dock, and then it's got the mountain logo on the back there. Okay, all right, let's nestle that back into its little storage container there, and we'll just put that over here, and we'll carry on with the numpad next. The numpad, yes indeed. For individually customizable display keys, create your own personalized shortcuts. The numpad as well is, of course, RGB backlit, just like the rest of the board. And also hot-swappable, just like the rest of the board. Interesting TFT LCD display. 320 by 120 total. So that must be, if you add them all together. I thought they were 72 high, but maybe they're 120 pixels high. Also warranted for 2 years, which is great. Okay. No little cover on top of this one, but it's not really necessary. Anyway. wrapped in plastic, of course. So really, this is kind of our first look at the actual design of the board itself, which we'll be looking at in another few moments here. But here's the numpad. We can see that, yes, in fact, the keycaps are of that UV-coated ABS variety that we saw in the little accessories package there. Cherry MX brown switches. Very hard bottom out. The stabilizers on here, we'll talk more about this in a moment when we get to the main board, but they are factory lubed with Kratos 205 G0, and they feel pretty nice. No rattle really going on there, so that's nice. And then, of course, our 4 little media keys up at the top here. Those don't feel great to press, I must say. Very little travel. Unsatisfying sound. But I'm willing to cut some slack here just because they are also little screens. We'll see how they act in action. How they look in action. I think I'm realizing what they meant about the two aluminum plates, and that appears to be there's one on the top here, one top plate, and then another one underneath it, and I believe that facilitates edge lighting, RGB edge lighting all the way around. I don't know if that's provided by separate dedicated LEDs on the PCB or if it's just kind of residual from the LEDs under each switch. Hard to say. We'll have to see, I guess. But more interesting than all of that is this setup here where we have a slider. So let's see what happens when we push this slider. Just like magic, our little USB Type-C connector pops out, as well as an additional little just securing piece here, presumably to help it stay more stably connected to the main keyboard. If we wanted to, so this configuration would allow us to attach it on the left side of the board. But if we slide it back that way, now we can plug it in on the right side of the board. Isn't that neat? Isn't that just like magic? That's pretty cool. Very clever design. Now we have an anti-skid foot right here. The back is made of, once again, textured ABS plastic. Feels, plasticky, but it's to be expected. This here, I think, if I can get it off, there we go. So exactly like we surmised earlier, the pre-installed feet come with a nice rubberized anti-slip pad, and then you can stick them on just like that and have the world's tallest keyboard on one corner. I guess if you are using the full-size board with the numpad attached, you have 2 feet for each of the feet on the back here. So that would let you get it 2 plus that one, the basic, or the pre-installed one. So I guess 3 tiers high. But if you were using just the 10 keyless body portion, you could have 4 stacked under each. If you wanted a really severe angle, like break your wrists type angle. And that's the case for both of these here. They're both magnetic like so. They seem to attach quite nicely. So that is the numpad. We will, of course, take a much closer look at this when it comes time to plug it in. We'll see how these little unsatisfying feeling buttons, how they look when they're customized. And we will just attach this in a moment to the main board just to show how that works. Okay, let's put that back for now. Okay, and then the last piece we've got in here, probably the least exciting, is USB cable. Oh, but you know what? It's still very nicely presented and appears to be of very high quality. We have USB Type-C, or maybe both ends are Type-C. Or maybe we have more than one cable, does it say? Type A to C or Type C to C. Oh, look at that. They give you the option. Well, I'll be. Let's pull this out here. The cables. I see. I think I see. No, I don't see. Well, let's undo this and see. Undo this and USB Type-C. And just twist it in here. First thing I want to say actually is this is heavy. This is a very heavy cable. Look at the quality of this cable. It's thick. It's thick but soft and supple. It has this lovely fabric sleeving. And of course hook and loop cable wrap fastener. And it is mounted branded. And on both ends actually. So this is a single cable. This is USB Type A to Type C, and this is how you will be generally securing or attaching your keyboard. But then we have a little extender piece, a Type C to Type C cable. But it's female to male, so it's like it extends it somehow. I'm not sure what the good of that is. Interesting. I'm trying to think why they would include that, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but I'm sure all will become clear at some point. It just gives us an extra, 6 inches or so on here, but what you would need that for, I don't know. Oh well. it shall remain a mystery for now. But the important part is this seems like a very long and high quality cable. Maybe the nicest cable I've ever seen included with a keyboard, actually. Although, I will say, the style these days is, of course, colored sleeving with coils. Coiled cables are very in vogue with enthusiasts. But this is not that. This is just a standard linear cable and no fancy, LEMO connectors or anything like that either. So you're not going to get your enthusiast cred with this cable, but it feels good. It feels substantial. So it will absolutely do the job. And that is all of that. Nothing else going on in the bottom portion of the case. So the next thing we're going to do is look at the main keyboard itself. Let's do that. Okay. So once again, Mountain branded plastic bag. So here is the main part of the board, the 10 keyless portion, if you will. And it's very basic looking, isn't it? The simple aesthetics belie the plethora of functions and options. So we have a totally standard 10 keyless layout going on right here. We have these unfortunate UV coated ABS keycaps. It's got kind of a big forehead going on up here. That is, of course, to allow the media dock to attach. We have this brushed aluminum top plate, which this again is in the gunmetal color, but it is available in a black color as well. Etched into the top here, we've got the Mountain logo. It looks very classy. The area in which the keys sit is actually slightly recessed, you can probably tell. And it's got a really interesting brushing, kind of machining finish to it, with all these little circles. Can you see that? Might be hard to see. These little swirls in it, which to my eye, I originally thought, these are machining marks and it looks kind of unfinished, but I think it's an aesthetic choice. I suspect, well, maybe it's both, because this piece of metal looks like it was, a CNC router basically was used to cut out this slightly recessed portion of the top plate, and presumably these are in fact machining marks just left behind by that router, but I don't know enough about machining really to say for sure. Either way, it's an interesting aesthetic choice. It looks quite industrial, but I think I like it. But it's only a very small little ledge, right? It's not deeply recessed or anything. Let's look around the edges here. So we've actually got quite a bit going on. We've got here USB Type-C, presumably for our media dock. I wonder if we could use that for something else as well. If we were not using it for the media dock, I wonder if it could be used as a USB hub. That would be interesting. We've got one USB Type-A port here, which is presumably the USB hub. There, can you see it? The USB Type-C connection for the board itself actually resides on the back here, recessed away right there. Can you see? we've got a little cable channel to guide our cable. You can also bring it in. Oh my goodness. Wow, we have a lot of cable channels. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Let's keep going around the edges here though. Another USB Type-C over here if we wanted to mount the dock on that side. Then around the edges, what do you know? More USB Type-C connectors because, of course, this is where we have the option of mounting our numpad. So right there, and the same over here, right there. And then, mercifully, nothing along the front edge, just uninterrupted aluminum sandwich. So yeah, this is what they were saying, I think, with the 2 aluminum plates. And if you look, that carries all the way around 360 degrees. And I believe that facilitates edge lighting. But we'll see for sure how that looks and works when we plug it in. But overall, nice, simple, industrial kind of aesthetic. Viewed from the front. Minimalistic kind of design. Premium looking finish with the brushed aluminum. Let's take a closer look at the back here. There's a lot going on here actually. We have, of course, the magnetic and removable feet. Just like on the numpad there. There it is. Very straightforward. Simple. It seems like a great solution, honestly. Probably more sturdy than those little magnetic ridges that you get for the drop branded boards. Then we have all these cable routing channels here. So you can have your cable coming in kind of however you want. You can have it coming in right in the center, on the left, on the right, from this side, or that side, or even from the bottom if you wanted to have a cable coming in from down here and then in there, or from over here. Obviously the sides, I would think, are only usable, those cable routing channels, only accessible if you don't have the numpad plugged in, although it would be interesting to see if maybe the numpad has cable routing channels of its own. Let's see. Oh, you know it does. They really did think of everything. So you could route it through there as well. We'll keep that numpad here because we'll be looking at that in a moment or two. Other than that, on the back here we have some anti-skid rubberized feet along the bottom edge. We have branding, mountain here, Everest there. And we have certifications, serial number, and those sorts of things, operating values there. Now I'm trying to figure out, I guess that our wrist rest attaches on these little fins here somehow. But there's only one way to find out. But before we do get to that, before we start constructing this thing, there's a couple things I want to do here. This little accent key here is, where did I put the, I think I packed it away. We'll just, there. Is a fun little detail. Of course, if you don't like it, you can replace it with that escape key that we saw earlier, which is the only spare keycap that is included in this package. It is unfortunately of the same design as all the rest. That coated, thin-walled ABS. They are OEM profile, it looks like, which is your totally bog standard profile that everyone's used to. Nothing too remarkable there. And they all appear to be this laser etched coated ABS. presumably we can remove the switch. That is an advertised feature. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull out the switch puller here. I think I can grab it here. Yes. We'll use the included one. Let's take a look and see. So, switch comes out very easily. Basic Cherry MX Brown RGB version again. A lot of people hate on Cherry MX Browns, but I really don't mind them. They're pretty mild tactility. They have a mild tactility, but the newer Cherry MX Browns are much smoother than they used to be, and I think they feel all right personally. But you'll get the Cherry MX Brown Hate Brigade out there. They do exist. The PCB underneath, if you can see, appears to be black, and regrettably only supports 3-pin switches. You can see there's that central hole, and then 2 little holes for the contact pins, but no additional cutouts to accommodate 5-pin switches. That's somewhat disappointing. It would have been easy to do, I think. I would guess, anyway. But they opted not to. Mountain opted not to. So that does limit, well, it doesn't limit the compatibility, but it limits the ease of compatibility of switches for this board. For example, my Boba U4Ts are 5-pin switches, and I was really hoping to swap them on here because they're one of my favorite tactile switches right now. But I won't be able to do that without clipping off all those additional pins. But if you do clip off those pins, which is not so much work really, those switches will work fine in these hot swap sockets. So it's just more of a physical limitation than anything. And of course you got the little surface mount LED in there for the per key RGB. Always gotta have the RGB. Okay, let's put this back in. They come in and out very easily. Honestly, the switches feel, the sockets feel very nicely sized, and the edges of the cutout on the plate are not sharp or unpleasant by any stretch. They have a really nice finished feel to them, so that's great. Sign of attention to detail and quality. What will we do here now? We will look at the stabilizers, because they do claim that these are factory lubed with the very popular Krytox 205G0 lubricant. And they sound pretty good. Not hearing much rattle, but I think part of the sound signature is just not that pleasing to me. I think it's the keycaps. Honestly, I really don't think these keycaps are doing this board any favors. But the stabilizers themselves are not especially rattly. There is also quite a bit of resonance in this board. Listen, you hear that residual resonance? A ringing, I call that. And that's probably just the nature of the construction of the board, the materials used, and the fact that there's probably no dampening in here. This does not feel dampened. I don't think there's any foam in there, nor is this a gasket mounted design. So all those vibrations just propagate through the materials of the board, which produces a less than premium kind of typing feel and sound. To their credit, the space bar is actually really nicely stabilized. It's not too rattly at all, and it feels very solid. But I still think this board is being done dirty by the cheap keycaps they put on here. And I do think a little bit of dampening or some other mounting system could go a long way to really making it have that premium enthusiast sound and feel. Nevertheless, we'll see how it performs when I take it for a full typing test, which you will be seeing and hearing in the next follow-up, part 2 of this review. Because, as you may have noticed, this is already getting awfully long because there's just so much to this board. It is an incredible piece of hardware in terms of its functionality and engineering. So now let's see one of the greatest tricks that this board has up its sleeve. Let's see how this mounts on here. So it just kind of sits like this, I guess, and then we just kind of seems like such a weird thing to do, but I just kind of, I guess maybe it's like, what is happening here? Is that it? It does not feel very secure at all. I guess that's it though. Okay, so it's really not a very strong connection there. You can see it kind of wibbles and wobbles a little bit, but I assume that's got to be how it works because these can't get any closer together. You can see, you know, the metal is touching the metal here. But sitting on the desk surface, it doesn't feel like it's not secure. It just sort of sits there. All that really needs to happen is that USB Type-C connector needs to make contact, and then it's good to go. So I guess that's it. I guess that's it right there. But, you know, if you lift it up, it just kind of hangs off the end here, which doesn't really feel that solid. It's a magnetic connection. I believe this is a magnet here. And I guess these are too, maybe. I'm not quite sure. Let's try it on the other side. Let's see how that feels. So we just kind of pop it on like so. And there it is again. Again, it's a little worrisome how much this flexes like that. I'd be afraid that if I just pick this up and accidentally pulled on this too hard, that the Type-C connection in here might break, you know, some solder might just break or something. The socket might get wrecked. But there's really no other way to do this. Like, this is pushed as far that way as it goes, so it doesn't get any more secure than that. I was hoping for something a bit more stable, honestly. But functionally, it seems to, presumably, will work just fine. And that's pretty cool. Check it out. We got a southpaw numpad. That is very uncommon. And I love having that option, that customizability. So that's pretty cool. Now, one other thing to stick on here. No, two other things actually. The media dock. So this goes on the top here, presumably. Now we have to just make sure we line it up right, I guess. There. That works out very easily. Just like so. So that sits up there. Control the volume. Your media keys. They do feel a little more solid attached to the main case. And it looks pretty good. I think that looks really nice. But if we don't want it there, we can also put it over here. And now this is interesting. How's this going to work? Oh, I see. It's positioned in such a way that we don't have to worry about overlapping onto our numpad. So if you wanted it over there, you can put it over there as well. But I think, for me at least, the natural spot is over here on the right hand side. That seems to be a much more suitable location. And then the last piece here is the delightful sounding wrist rest. Sounds so nice. Let's see if we can get it all together here. I thought that this was going to be a magnetic attachment, but I think it might just clip on, honestly. Oh no, it is magnetic. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of pulling it on right there. Great, okay. Huh. And it literally just sits in place like that. So here is, finally, the fully assembled Mountain Everest Max. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I'm looking very forward to diving into using this board and testing out all the functionality of the media dock, of the numpad with those display buttons, and all the RGB backlighting, all that good stuff. Of course, facilitated by Mountain's Keycap software, which we will be taking an extensive look at. But that is going to have to wait for the next part of this video, this review, I should say, because I usually like to try and do these all in one video, but there's just too much to see, too much to talk about and evaluate with this board. So part 2 will follow in, I think, a week from the publication of part 1 here, maybe 2 weeks, it depends. But I'm aiming for a week. So, but anyway, it's coming in the not too distant future. So in that part, you will get to see all of this stuff plugged in and in action. And of course, we'll have the typing test, and then I'll run down my pros and cons of this board and its many features before giving you my final verdict on the Mountain Everest Max. Until then, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this part 1 of the review. I hope you found it informative, and I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you back here next time for another episode of relaxing reviews.